Hello, hi, welcome once again to M5's English language learning program, Let's Speak English. I'm Gav Duncan and I'm here on your TV to help you learn English. Now, are you sitting comfortably? Yes? Good. And are you ready for today's lesson? Yes? Good. Okay, well, let's learn English together. And hello to you all. Yes, come in, sit down, lie back, relax, kick off your shoes. Well, kick your shoes off if your feet don't smell. If your feet smell, then please, for the sake of humanity, keep your shoes on, okay? All right, so how are we all today? Well, I'm fine, thanks for asking. And I presume that you're all fine too. And what about the crew? What about the film crew? The people behind the scenes. The people that you lot don't get to see. Well, let's ask them. Ladies first. Juji the brush. Juji, how are you today? Okay. Virag, how do you feel? All right, that's the girls. Now, what about the boys? How should we do this? By age? Is that the most appropriate? Probably. So, let's start at the top and work backwards. Chubba, the man with the cans. Chubby, how do you feel? And what about you, Otti? Okay. And Moddy, how are you today? And last, but by no means least, Adamko. How are you today, Adamko? All right, we're all right and you're all right. So in that case, let's make a start. All right, well, we're going to have another look at the parts of a car later on. I haven't decided when yet, but for now, it's time for us to have another bash at the present perfect. Okay, so what do we all remember about the present perfect? Well, we all remember that it connects the past and the present. Something that happened in the past, but which is important now. For example, I've lost my wallet. When did it happen? Well, we're not sure, but it was in the recent past. Maybe it was last night. Perhaps it happened this morning. Perhaps it only happened a couple of minutes ago. We don't know, but that's not particularly important. What is important is the fact that now I can't pay for my lunch. So, action or event in past result in present, or it's important now when I'm speaking. And I don't know if any of you noticed, but I also used the present perfect when I was talking about when we're going to look at car vocabulary again. Did you notice it? I said that I haven't decided yet. Now, this is a slightly different use of the present perfect, isn't it? This is more the idea of a situation which began in the past and which continues until now. And this is another situation where we use the present perfect. Think about the sentence, I've lived in Budapest since 1993. That sentence expresses the same idea, doesn't it? In that sentence, we're talking about something which started in the past but continues to now. So that means that the past and the present are connected. So that's why we use the present perfect. Now, as I said before, we can normally communicate ideas which mean the same as the present perfect by using other tenses. So if I say, I live in Budapest, I moved here in 1993, then, as we can see, I've used two sentences, one in the present simple and one in the past simple, to explain the same idea. So, as I said, sometimes the present perfect might seem a bit superfluous, but trust me, you're going to use it. We all do, and even if you don't want to use it, you have to, because everybody else does. All right, now, back to the present perfect. We've seen that we use it when we're talking about something which happened in the past but which is connected to the present, like the sentence about the wallet. And now we've seen a different use of the tense when we're talking about an action or situation which started in the past and which continues up until the present. Okay, so let's have a look at some examples of this different use, shall we? Complete the following sentences using the present perfect. We're not going to bother with an example. We've just seen one. Let's use that one as the example. I live in Budapest since 1993. I have lived in Budapest since 1993. Okay, so is there anything difficult about that one? No, not really. We know that we have to use the present perfect because we can see that we're talking about something which started in the past and didn't finish, but continues until the time of speaking. All right, so we've completed the first step. We've identified the tense we have to use. Okay, and what does that mean? What's our next step? Yes, we have to change the verb in the sentence into the present perfect. And how do we do that? Yes, we remember that we need have plus the past participle of the main verb. So we know that with have, there are two possible forms depending on which subject we're using. We're either going to use have or has. If the subject is the first person singular, the second person singular, or any of the plural forms, then the correct form is have. I have, you have, he, she, it, ululu, we have, you have, they have. And if the subject is the third person singular, then the correct form of the verb to have is has. I have, you have, he, she, it has. We have, you have, they have. Okay, so the first part of the task has been completed. We've got the correct form of the auxiliary verb. The sentence uses the first person singular, so we need have. And what about the main verb? Well, is the verb regular or irregular? Well, what's the verb in the sentence? What's the main verb? It's the verb to live, isn't it? Yes. And is live regular or irregular? It's regular, isn't it? Okay, so what does that mean? What are the implications of that fact? Well, the fact that the verb is regular means that we know that the past simple form adds ed to the end of the infinitive. Or, because the verb ends in e, we don't add ed to the end to get the past simple form. We only have to add d. Live becomes lived. And what else do we know about regular verbs? Yes, that's right. The past participle form and the past simple form are the same. So that means that we know the past simple form as well as the past participle. Great! So let's see the sentence one more time. I have lived in Budapest since 1993. All right. Now, we need to look at one word in that sentence which normally, well, sometimes causes a whole load of trouble. It normally leads to what Benser, the wise man from next door, describes as a maelstrom of chaos. Yes, it's another way, a very convoluted and complicated way of saying a mess. All right, so we know that this word is a problem. And it's not only this word, it's connected to another word too, and together they cause, as Benser would say, a maelstrom of chaos. The word I want us to focus on is the word since. Okay, now, what does this word mean? Any ideas? Well, look at the sentence that we used it in. I've lived in Budapest since 1993. So, we can see that it's connected to time in some way, can't we? Yes. We use the word since to indicate how long we're talking about. We use since to indicate the amount of time between when something started and when we're talking. And how do we use it? Well, let's have another look at the example sentence, shall we? I have lived in Budapest since 1993. Okay, so we've indicated a period of time, haven't we? We've used the adverb since with a date to show when a period of time started. And that's how we use since. We use since together with a date or a day or a time, but always the time when the period started to show when this event or situation or whatever started. So let's have a look at some more examples. The crew have been in the studio since 9:30 this morning. My granddad has been in hospital since Christmas. My mum and dad have lived in England since the early 1960s. Harald V of Norway has been King of Norway since Monday. So As we can see from those example sentences, we use since plus the start of a period of time to show how long something has been going on. Simple, isn't it? Yes? Okay. In that case, what was I talking about when I said that this word, along with another word, tends to cause a maelstrom of chaos? Well, I'll tell you. There's another word in English which we also use to talk about how long something has been going on for. That other word is the word for. We use since and for and since to tell people how long. And essentially, they're the same idea. But the way we use them is different. As we've just seen, we use since with the start of the period of time. Now we can say the same thing just in a slightly different way using for. The difference is that when we use for, we use it with not the start point of the period of time, but the period of time. So that means that if we look at the example sentence I first used, we can write that sentence in two ways. Firstly, we have the sentence we've already seen. I've lived in Budapest since 1993. But if I calculate the time between 1993 and now, the time when I'm speaking, then I can calculate the period of time, the length of time in the sentence. And what is that period of time? Well, it's 2018 now, so 2018 minus 1993 gives us, what, 25? Yes. So the period of time we're talking about is 25 years. Okay. So that means I can communicate the same idea as the first sentence using for, like this. I've lived in Budapest for 25 years. Do you see? Essentially, it's exactly the same sentence. The meaning is the same. Both sentences are in the present perfect too. And why is that? Why do you think that both of these sentences use the present perfect tense? Well, what do we know about the present perfect? That's right. We know that we use the present perfect when there's a connection between the past and the present. And that's exactly what we've got here, isn't it? Look at all of the example sentences we've got. I've lived in Budapest since 1993. The crew have been in the studio since 9:30 this morning. My granddad has been in hospital since Christmas. My mum and dad have lived in England since the early 1960s. Harald V of Norway has been King of Norway since Monday. All of those sentences have got one thing in common, a connection between the past, when something started, and the present, when we're talking. So that means that in all of those sentences, we're talking about an event or situation which began in the past, in 1993, at 9:30 this morning, last Christmas, the early 1960s, and Monday. So the logical tense to use is just that, the present perfect, and that's the tense that we have used. I have plus the past participle of the verb to live, lived, live, lived, lived. They have plus the past participle of the verb to be, been, be, was, were, been. The same verb again for my granddad, be, was, were, been. The verb to live once more for my parents, live, lived, lived. And then be once more for the last one, be, was, were, been. Okay. And what about making the same sentences, but this time using for in place of instead of since? What about that? Well, that's going to have to wait because, yes, that time has come. Once again, the end of the lesson. Yes, it's here, it's arrived, and that means that it's time for us to part for the day. But don't worry. We'll cover the use of for and compare it to since and look at the differences and where we have to be careful tomorrow, okay? All right, in that case, it's time for us to part, as I said. So you go that way and I'll go this way. I'm going home. There's a coffee with my name on it waiting for me. And as for you, well, I don't know. There must be something for you to do too, surely. Yes, so finish your chores, walk the dog, feed the cat, speak to the parrot, all the normal stuff. After that, if you've still got some spare time, then you could always check out the website and see if there's any new vocab up on the site. All right, I'll see you all tomorrow. Remember to have fun, and I'll see you back here tomorrow. Same time, same place, but tomorrow. See you tomorrow. See you later. www.mediaclick.hu. Bye!